What is the history of the National Firearms Act of 1934? Have you ever wondered how gun control laws in America began? The National Firearms Act of 1934 is a key piece of that puzzle. This law marked the first major federal regulation of firearms in the United States. It was created during a time when organized crime was on the rise, particularly during the Prohibition era. The government aimed to restrict access to certain weapons that were often used in criminal activities. This included machine guns, short-barreled shotguns, and silencers. To discourage ownership of these firearms, the law imposed a hefty tax of $200 on their manufacture, transfer, and registration. Adjusted for inflation, that tax would be nearly $4,500 today. This financial burden effectively made these weapons out of reach for many average citizens. From a conservative viewpoint, the National Firearms Act is often seen as an early example of federal overreach into the rights of gun owners. Initially, some groups like the National Rifle Association supported the law as a way to combat crime. However, modern Republican critiques argue that it set a dangerous precedent for excessive regulation of firearms. The tax and registration system is frequently criticized for creating unnecessary barriers for lawful gun ownership. Many believe that items like suppressors should be viewed as safety tools for hearing protection rather than as accessories for criminals. The legacy of the National Firearms Act is central to ongoing debates about the balance between federal power and individual rights. Critics argue that this law laid the groundwork for future gun control measures, including the Gun Control Act of 1968. Today, Republican-led initiatives often aim to roll back some provisions of the National Firearms Act, especially concerning silencers. These efforts focus on reducing federal oversight and aligning firearm regulations with a strict interpretation of the Second Amendment. This amendment protects the right of individuals to keep and bear arms, which many conservatives believe should not be infringed upon. The historical context of the National Firearms Act is rooted in addressing gang violence during the Great Depression. However, many argue that modern crime reduction should focus more on law enforcement and mental health policies rather than restricting access to firearms. This perspective suggests that the Act's emphasis on regulating hardware rather than addressing criminal behavior set a concerning precedent for future legislation. Understanding the history of the National Firearms Act of 1930 helps clarify the ongoing discussions around gun control in America today. It highlights the tension between regulation and individual rights, especially in the context of the Second Amendment.